and welcome to the first mixed media Menagerie collab. I'm excited to share the journal page I made this month from our strange collection of things. After grabbing my supplies, some I ended up not using, and opening the mystery ephemera drop envelope that Erin left on my doorstep, I gessoed my pages and began to create. I wasn't 100% sure where I was going to take this page with the supplies and the constraints that we had in place of how we were going to create, so I first broke the page by adding some dictionary pages. I just grabbed a random page on the dictionary, checked to make sure there were no crazy, strange, perhaps bad words on it, and added it to my pages with some matte medium. Next, I embedded it into the pages a little bit with some gesso. This kind of helps push that text behind so it's not in the foreground, and then it ends up being a background layer to my pages. I actually went to an art supply store recently and grabbed some of Dina Wakley's new gloss sprays that I hadn't played with yet. I used these also to kind of help break the page. I splattered each color on and then kind of spread it around just to play with this new medium. I wasn't sure how to use it and just wanted to open it up and try it out for the first time. Once my pages were semi-dry, I wanted to continue to break the surface and just did some little scribbling thoughts. I don't even remember what I wrote. I just scribbled some stuff on the page. Once I finished, I kind of activated that Stabilo graphite color pencil a little bit to get it a little blurry, and again, just so it blends more into the background. Next, it was time to kind of be brave and dig into the ephemera that Erin had left and figure out exactly where I was going to go with this page. First, I ripped apart this orange paper that had globes on it, and I have it upside down at first and realized it, flipped it over, and used my matte medium again to adhere this to the page. Next, I wanted to emphasize those circles a little bit more. Circles are something I used often in my pages. If you follow me, you've probably noticed that. So I grabbed my Stabilo all pencils, the graphite and the black, traced a couple of those circles, ended up being kind of an odd number. I think I chose 5. Used the graphite first, then the black to outline the circles, and then activated all of it with some of water and a paintbrush, and I also added a little bit of that shadowing left over from the Stabilo on my paintbrush to those circles that I hadn't traced. So we decided that since we all had this same script stencil from the Crafters Workshop, that we were going to all use it on our pages. I grabbed another new to me supply, this Liquitex spray paint, and absolutely fell in love with it. I highly recommend picking it up if you don't have it. I used it in my home studio that's carpeted and not very open. It doesn't have a smell. It didn't skid all over. It was absolutely wonderful. So I sprayed this on my page, and I also sprayed it on that denim page, and it took the spray paint very well As you can see, they both look wonderful on that gesso page and that denim page. So I'm continuing to build my background layers here and cut apart these cards from Erin and chose 3 of them, adhered them to my pages with this thick gel medium because it's more of a cardstock, and the thick gel medium will help it to stick down or secure to the pages a little better. When I was done adding these cool number cards to my page, I grabbed the really fun polka dot tissue paper that Erin also included in our package and used matte medium in the front and the back to put this in places on the page. I kind of concentrated on it on top of the cards to push them behind, but also in some other fun places on my page. Next, Erin had included this really cool piece of baker's twine that had kind of a metallic thread in it. So I wanted to add this also to the background as texture. I used that ultra thick medium and put it all over the string, and then also secured it down with a little bit of liquid matte medium as well. So since our color theme for this page was teal and orange, rusty kind of colors, this manila envelope that Erin actually put all of our ephemera inside was calling my name. So I decided I needed to use this on my pages as well. I grabbed that stencil again and that awesome Liquitex spray paint and added the stencil to the envelope in the front and the back. And then I also flipped the stencil over and used the opposite, or however you say it, of the stencil, and use that when you'll see here when I missed some of the spray paint spot, using that flipped over stencil to fill in those holes really added to it and added a really cool effect. When that spray paint dried, it didn't take very long, which is another cool aspect of it. I cut this envelope off a little bit so that I could use it as a small little tip in my journal pages. Then I decided that this denim page was just a little bit too big. I didn't really want to have to deal with the whole surface, so I cut it, ripped it, and decided that I was going to use it just as a small part of my journal spread here. I kind of used my fingers and a scissors to add to that seam so it looked kind of ragged. Then I grabbed this embroidery floss, which was also a requirement. We had to use a string or embroidery floss, and decided to stitch it onto this denim page. I'm not the best sewer. You'll notice that it's kind of wonky and crooked, but I think it adds to the effect of the page. I just simply did a simple stitch up and down this piece of denim, and I had fun with it. As you can see, I'm not a good sewer. When I was finished with those wonky stitches, I decided that I wanted this denim flap to actually be secured to that white page and not be an actual flap. And so I used some of that very thick gel medium to secure the denim flap to that front page of the art journal. While I waited for that thick medium to dry, I decided that I wasn't sure what layering I was going to put on that envelope next, so I wanted to kind of protect it in case I needed to wipe anything away. So I grabbed the clear gesso and spread it all over the front and back of this envelope so that whatever I did to it next wouldn't cause harm by being, too watery, or if I got too much, I'd be able to wipe it off. While the envelope was drying, I decided to work on kind of what was going to be the focal point of my page. I was kind of seeing a fall leaf with our colors being orange and rust. So I grabbed some watercolor paper, sketched a leaf on it, and just kind of made an organic leaf shape sketch. As I sketched the leaves and stuff, I did extra lines, and then I grabbed an eraser and got rid of the lines that I didn't like. When I had my leaf looking how I wanted it to look, I grabbed this brush pen from Copic, however you say it, I've heard it both ways, and traced the outline of my leaf shape. I like this bold outline of the brush because it kind of does a thick and thin. So as I outlined the leaves, I kind of concentrated on making that thick and thin happen, and then I also added some extra lines in my leaves to make it look a little even more rustic and sketchy. This brush pen does take a little bit to dry, so I let it set it aside for a little bit to completely dry before I put the watercolor on it, which you'll see coming up in a little bit. Next, it was time to add that teal to my page. I wanted to push all that crazy background to the back and top it off with teal. So I grabbed the 3 kind of teal shades from Dina Wakley's paint line, started with the lighter color and used my finger so it would be kind of organic, and grabbed a paintbrush once in a while when I needed to get that paint in and around that string. I found that was a little harder with my finger. I spread the paint from light to dark, also put some on that denim page, and just enjoyed this process. No particular reason of what I did. Try to push back some of the funny ephemera in the back, but keep some of it forward to kind of make the page a little bit more cohesive. While my fingers were messy and I already had this paint out, I decided I should also add these same colors to that envelope. So I grabbed the envelope and used the same colors, adding the teal layers to the front and the back side. Now that it's been several minutes, that brush pen is dry on my leaf, so I grabbed my watercolors. This is the Odyssey collection from Prima, also called Art Philosophy Co., I believe now. And I didn't really have a plan here, just wanted to use fall colors. I started with the lighter yellow and layered orange rust and a deeper kind of maroon color on top. As I painted, I flicked color and had fun. Some of my favorite fall leaves are the ones that you pick up and they're just full of color, oranges and yellows, and then they have little speckles of maroon on them, and I tried to kind of recreate this leaf as I was painting. I cut a little bit out so you get a little idea, but I'm going to go back and also add a full-length version of watercoloring this leaf, so watch for it. I'm not sure if I'll add it to YouTube or add it on Instagram, but watch for the full watercolor experience of this leaf as well. And I just continued to fill this in. It's not professional, it's not perfect, it's kind of to go with my crazy page and splattered, and after the leaf dried I cut it out, and you'll see a little snippet of that coming up as well. So my teal colors had kind of dried here and they felt a little flat, so I decided to grab some gesso and kind of add a little bit more white to the front. I wasn't sure if this was going to help the situation, but I felt like it added a little bit more dimension so that teal wasn't as flat. So at this point I felt like that denim side was kind of competing with the right teal side and wanted to bring some of that denim color to the right side of the page, and so I grabbed the night color, which I felt was a little too dark maybe, so I added some gesso to it to tone it down and started to create these little polka dots. Wonky kind of matched that tissue that Erin had included on my front page here, and tried to make them flow across the page. I didn't have any particular purpose or plan in how they were creating, just went with the flow and put them several places on the page. I tend to like to choose 3 places to put them on the page to help move your eye around the page, and wanted them to also flow across the page so that when I put the leaf on top it would draw your attention to the leaf shape. I saw that my watercolor palette was still a little bit wet and that envelope could use a little bit more color, so I quick flicked some of that watercolor onto the envelope and also to my pages. So if you've watched a lot of my videos or seen me on Instagram, you know that I use the black Stabilo pencil a lot, but I didn't want to use that as much on this page, so I grabbed the orange Stabilo all pencil, which I don't think I had ever used, and I traced that around those blue circles. Normally I would have used the black or the graphite, which is kind of my go-to, but instead I grabbed that orange, and I'm glad I did because I really like how the orange Stabilo looked on top of the page. I didn't activate it this time, I left the sketchy Stabilo as it was and just traced all of those circles. I even traced the ones on the denim page, and the Stabilo worked just as well on the denim. Then, as I said before, I cut out that leaf shape to put on as a focal point on my front page. So we decided to also include some kind of metallic paint to our pages, and so I grabbed this iridescent gold fine by Golden that I had a little fine liner tip on and added little gold dots in all of those navy wonky circles, and thought that this really helped to make those pop and also add that metallic color that we needed to add to our pages. So I decided that I needed a couple more of those navy dots on the denim page and added those, and then I don't do it on camera, but I also added the Stabilo and the gold to them as well after the paint dried. And I decided to add a little bit more of that metallic just with simple lines on my watercolored leaf and outlined the leaves a little bit with a very thin amount of that metallic gold color. So the kind of theme of our pages this time was to use words, either a quote that we made up ourselves or typed or from a stencil, or a poem or whatever we wanted to do, and I happened to have this stamp on my desk from Red Lead Paperworks and wanted to use it, so I stamped it on the watercolor paper that was surrounding that leaf and then ripped it to use later on my page. Then I grabbed that manila envelope to tip it into my pages. Erin had included this music note washi tape, and so I used that on my envelope. After I got it on there, I also used some matte medium to help secure it, and also some additional clear washi tape from the Dina Wakley line, because I wasn't having enough success, I guess, with that music note. It just wasn't enough for what I needed, and so I added some clear washi tape on it as well. And then, because I wasn't sure what other mediums I'd be using, I quick sprayed my leaf with some of this fixative so that the watercolor didn't go crazy. And then I adhered it to the page with some of that extra heavy gel medium. Because the watercolor paper is so thick, I needed the gel, that heavy gel, to help secure it to the page. So I keep flipping back and forth as things dry, and now as I'm waiting for that leaf to dry, I start to concentrate on my little quote. Erin had included this really cool tea bag that was the perfect color, and then also this brick, I guess, textured paper, and I cut that paper and layered it with my quote in the tea bag, and she had also included these little brads, and I couldn't find my hole punch. It's still packed in a box, so I used a little needle to poke a hole in and layer those brads to put the quote, the tea bag, and that paper together. I secured my little tea bag quote to the left on top of the denim with some of that gel medium, and then I saw some more of that tissue paper on my desk and thought, ooh, I should add that to my little manila envelope flap. So I'm doing the same thing with the matte medium, securing the tissue paper in the front and the back with the matte medium on the flap. I kind of concentrated in the areas that had paint because I thought that the little polka dots would show up more on the envelope. Erin had also included this little tab from a tea bag, and so I wrapped some of the leftover of the baker's twine that she included on the top and secured it to my little flap with this tiny stapler from Holtz. And then she also had these cute little metallic stars, and so you'll see that I layer those right next to that little tab as well. So I'm still thinking that teal paint is looking just a little flat, and decided to grab this Bombay India ink, I think it's aqua colored, and use that as another layer to add a little dark shadow of that aqua color to my page, and also to push that washi tape back a little. So I concentrated in just a couple areas to add a little dark tone to my pages, and then also on that washi tape to kind of push it to the back so it doesn't stick out as much. Then I kind of wanted to create a bridge from the quote to the page to the words to the T tab, so I used these Holtz stickers to put create, discover, explore on the little flap, and then when you open it up it says be brave. Then I make one more attempt to try to help fix that flatness of my back page, grab this Bombay India ink, I think it's tangerine, and splatter on the page. And this is exactly what else it needed to help just bring this page alive. I love the splatters of this tangerine ink on my pages. I put it here on the inside page, let it dry, flip it, and do it on the front of the tab and on the denim page as well. And I also grabbed a Stabilo Woody, the really thick Stabilo, there it is right there, in gold, and just scribbled that on the page as well. And that's it. I really hope you enjoyed our first collaboration project that we're calling Mixed Media Menagerie, where we pick a bunch of random things, mediums, objects, ephemera packages that we're going to drop off at each other's houses and have a little challenge. We'd love for you to play along with us. If you want to use our same ingredients and create a page, you can go back to that slide at the beginning and see what we used. And hashtag it Mixed Media Menagerie on Instagram so that we can find you. We look forward to doing our next one. They'll be the last Wednesday of every month, published about 3 o'clock Central Time. And we're excited to share with you our next random collection of odd, crazy, fun things that we're going to create journal pages with in this Dina Wakley Media Journal. Thank you again so much for watching. I'd love it if you subscribed, follow me, and leave me a comment below. Let me know what your favorite supply was, or what surprised you the most, or your favorite color combination. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you again so much.